Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Read to Me TT's Bedtime Series Initiative. Now, we are very grateful for the opportunity to be here with you tonight, so I hope that you are all ready for another fun and exciting bedtime story. So, my name is Lawrence, and I work at the Heroes Foundation. Yup, that's right, I work with heroes every single day. And would you like to know a little secret? These heroes are heroes just like you. Yes, just like you. Yes, just like you. And these heroes are also like Jovanna, who's joining me to read today.
Hi everyone, my name is Jovanna. I am part of the Heroes Foundation, and today I'm very excited to be reading one of Heroes Foundation's first ever comic books with you all.
Nice. So, okay, kids. So, for the past few weeks, we know that we've all had to be inside. But you have all been heroes in your own way by staying inside and washing your hands. See, I told you that you were heroes too. So, tonight, we have an exciting story about a boy named James who also, and quite unsuspectingly, finds heroes all around him.
Now, as I said, this is one of Heroes Foundation's first ever comic books, and it was written and illustrated by people right here in Trinidad and Tobago. So let's get started.
Early morning at the Queen's Park Oval, and a lone groundsman crosses the pitch, reminiscing on past matches witnessed. The first rays of sunlight awaken the country. Within minutes, the streets are teeming with activity. At the Walker residence, the still of the morning silence is about to be broken.
Let me guess, you're too busy, screams a young voice from the kitchen. James, it's not like I planned this. My job makes certain demands that before she could finish, James interrupted. Your job, it's always your job. How about one time you make it about your son? You don't come to any of my qualifying rounds, and now that I have reached the semis, I was hoping that you could at least come to that. So did I, James. Nathaniel, maybe you could make him understand. Nathaniel, Nathan, James, you know that your mother can't just drop things if there was any way for her to attend. You know she would. James left the kitchen. Before he says, yeah, could've, would've, I heard that before. Nathaniel, sometimes I think he's right, and I don't have enough time for him. Does that make me a bad mother? Of course not, Naoma. It's just that he's too young to understand. Give him some time to cool off and we'll speak to him later.
Having left home angry with his parents, James makes his way to school. He passes a noisy traffic jam and a police officer trying to direct the motorist.
I'm sure Mr. Police is causing the traffic in the first place.
A few minutes later, James comes across the scene of a terrible accident.
He thinks to himself, I wonder who caused this. I don't see any blood, so maybe everyone got off with minor injuries.
Now, James walks off, and in doing so, he does not see the emergency personnel in action. Suddenly, James hears a familiar voice call out to him.
To James. Rishi? Jimmy, you had a chance to check out that website I sent you? Yeah, his friend responded. He said, I downloaded a few trailers and MP3s. If my connection wasn't so slow, I would have collected a few more. I just remembered that we have assembly this afternoon. Yeah, that means no geography today.
Now, several hours later, we find both Rishi and James amongst the earliest to arrive for the assembly.
See, I told you we would get our pickup seats if we got here early. They're still setting up, James' friend said. So many newspaper and television reporters. Maybe one day this will all be for me, huh? In your dreams.
15 minutes later, the hall is packed to capacity, and the principal happily welcomes everyone.
A former pupil of this school, I am sure you are as anxious as I am. Here he is, Lance Cage.
A tall, strong man takes to the podium. Several minutes later, after the clapping and cheering subsides,
Hello everyone. I can't tell you how happy I am to be able to speak to you this afternoon. It was not too long ago that I sat where you are sitting now. Are the chairs as hard as I remember? He joked. I hope that me being here will be of benefit to all of you, and that you take something from what I have to say today. When people look at me, they only see the persona that I am. They don't know what and who made me the man I am today. Me being a professional athlete is the result of several people having some degree of influence on me during my formative years. My parents died when I was young, and I was placed with my grandmother. One of the things I learned from her was the importance of hard work if one is to achieve. My obstacle was schoolwork. Studying did not come easy to me, but I had teachers who were always there and willing to go the extra mile, as long as I was willing to make the effort. I have always been both thankful and appreciative of the fact Miss Dolly, Miss Phillips, Mrs. Rivers, and Mrs. Alfin Ali will always hold a special place in my heart. There were times when I wanted to give up, but they had faith in me. I learned it's easier to believe in oneself if someone believes in you first. This is the same belief I have in all of you. After putting all that effort into my studies, I found training for athletics a breeze. It seemed to me that whenever I was about to get into trouble, someone was there. Mr. Sims, just what I was looking for. Mr. Cage, 2 volunteers. Someone watching over me. For some reason, that someone always looked like Mr. Sims. Back
back in the auditorium, the boys giggle.
and I used to think it was just me and Mr. Sims used to do that. Guess that's how he got the nickname Ninja Man, huh?
The lecture proceeds smoothly, and the floor is opened up for questions from the students.
What's all the fuss with all that studying when all you need to do is sign a big contract and you're in the money? That's the fantasy side of sports, Mr. Cade said. Signing a contract is not a guarantee to riches. Many athletes suffer career-ending injuries before their career gets off the ground. Getting an education is all about preparing to face the real life.
A group of girls giggle with excitement in the hall.
My sister Heather used to be your classmate and told me your nickname was Sniper, but she never told me how you got it though. That's because I always strike without warning, he said.
James jumps up, excited to ask his question.
Earlier you mentioned how much hard work you put into getting where you are. Was it all you, or did you have anyone to inspire you? Did you have any heroes? All around me, he said, we are surrounded by heroes, but most of us never see them. I suppose the first that comes to mind are those you read about in your history books, or those that have movies made about them. If you dig if you dig a bit deeper, you will find Trinidad and Tobago's own heroes. Those are the heroes we may recognize and hear about. They are heroes you pass in the streets or take for granted: teachers, firemen, police officers, doctors, soldiers, just to name a few. They perform at times thankless jobs, sometimes risking their lives to make Trinidad and Tobago a better and a safer place for us all. They give us the peace of mind and sometimes the inspiration simply by us knowing that they're doing their job. Sometimes heroes are personal. It might be your mom, dad, siblings, or grandparents. Open your eyes and you too will see these heroes. My ultimate hero was my grandmother, to whom I dedicate all of my wins.
Later, the hall empties, and James and Rishi rush out, ready to head home.
I think I'll do my report on the lecture in the form of a poster. What about you? He asked his friend. I think I'll stick with an essay, his friend responded.
So James begins his journey home. The words of Lance Cage on the surface of his thoughts.
Heroes in plain sight, huh? Whoa, this looks like a biggie, James thinks to himself.
James scurries over for a closer look. James's attention is riveted to the fire.
I can feel the heat from here.
Most of the crowd falls silent as one by one they become entranced by the dancing flames, their faces all aglow from the illumination being provided by the burning building. James finds himself paying great attention to the Trinidad and the Tobago Fire Service as they battled the blaze and at the same time play savior to potential victims. Suddenly, one of the just revived rescuees cries out,
Jason! Officer, you have to let me through. My son is in there. I can't let you back in there. Fall back, men. A section of that building's to come down, one of the fire officers said.
Before all of the fire officers have a chance to act, their predictions come true. Trained to react when in dangerous situations, most of the fire personnel are able to escape unharmed.
Most, but not all. Take it slow, Sam. Everyone get back down. No one else goes in. Chief, almost all of the men have reported in. Almost, Chief said. Yes, sir. Everyone except Officer David. He's still in there, as the mother cries for her son.
The officer to a man knows that one of their own is still inside. And even though the order was given to pull back, they don't give up on one of their own so easily. They intend to give him every possible moment to get out of the inferno.
David, where are you? A female officer says behind.
Unseen by the crowd or the firefighters, a figure doggedly battles his way through the flames. Now, just as the exit comes into view, the building's facade begins giving away. And the building and the firefighters are caught in the falling debris. Now, as the dust settles and the smoke clears, the other officer makes their way towards their fallen comrades. And suddenly, a gust of wind dissipates most of the smoke. And what was revealed was a hero. James has to remind himself to start breathing again. Officer David takes a few steps and then collapses.
David, you okay? You had us all worried. Give him a chance to catch his breath. I don't believe it. Ma'am, is this your son? Jason, she screamed.
Now, James's attention is drawn away from the fire and to the reunion that is taking place not too far from him.
Officer David got him out just in time.
Her heart swelling with gratitude as she embraces her son safely. The mother makes her way past James and towards the ambulance where Officer David is being administered oxygen.
Take a few more deep breaths, sir. I think there's still smoke in your lungs.
James has a front row seat as the mother meets Officer David.
Officer, I thank you. I don't know what to say.
James is stunned at the fact that the officer is not making a big deal about the rescue. And then he hears the mother's last comment to Officer David.
I realize now that Superman does not always fly through the air. In the real world, sometimes he rides fire trucks. You will always be a hero to me. Thank you, ma'am, David responds.
As the words sink into James's mind, he is privy to another conversation between two exhausted firemen.
What's the matter, Henry? One fireman said to the other. While James thinks to himself, personal heroes, unsung heroes, superheroes. One of the firemen said to the other, Prim, I was supposed to take my son out this evening, but there's no way that I can make that now. He wouldn't understand that I had to change my priorities on him again. All I can say, Henry, is think of the people we pulled out of that elevator. If we were not here for them, think of what could have happened. Yeah, I know, but...
In all of the excitement, James had not noticed how late it was until...
Whoa, it's late, he said.
Now James, thinking about the day's events, the words of Lance Cage, the actions of the firemen.
Never thought of the protective services as being heroic. Always figured that is what they got paid to do. Now I see it's more than that. Whenever they respond to a call for help, they know what they may be called upon to make the ultimate sacrifice.
A short while later, James arrives home.
Mom, Dad, I'm home, he says. Hey, Dad, I was watching a big fire in town.
Before James could finish, the television interrupts him. Injuries were sustained by the fire service while combating the fire. In addition, a number of people were rescued from the buildings, suffering from burns and smoke inhalation. Another series of injuries was sustained when people being evacuated were struck by falling portions of the building as it collapsed. Additionally, medical personnel have been called out at various health institutions to deal with the expected influx of patients. An investigation into the cause of the fire is continuing.
It's just you and me for dinner tonight, James. Your mom has been called out to report for duty, his father says. I know you're thinking pizza. Not tonight. We have a home-cooked meal that just needs reheating.
A few seconds later, James's mother, Neoma, enters the room, fully dressed in her nurse's uniform, ready to race out the door.
James, I wanted to talk to you about the conversation we had this morning. I thought about what I would say, but I guess it will have to wait.
Now, Naomi is totally unprepared for James's response.
Don't worry about that, Mom. I know that tonight there are going to be people counting on you, and they really need you right now. James walks over and hugs his mom while continuing to say, "Tonight, you are going to be their hero, Mom." "Son," she says. He continues, "Superwoman does not always wear a cape. Tonight she wears a nurse's uniform."
James heads to the kitchen, leaving both of his parents stunned.
His mother says, "Nathan, what do you think happened to our James?" His father bursts out in laugh and says, "Maybe we're both having the same dream, or maybe he is just grown up."
Now, after dinner, James heads to his room, the events of the day swirling in his head.
I have an idea for my report on the lecture.
Today, James learned two very important lessons, and by having his eyes opened, he is able to see what he did not see before.
Understand what Lance was trying to tell us. It was there all the time.
And as James looks with pride at his completed school report, he smiles because he knows.
Anyone can be a hero.
So, folks, there we have it. That was the story of James and his adventures finding heroes all around him. We hope that you are also now able to see all the heroes around you as well, and that you remember that you can be a hero too. So thank you very much for joining the Read to Me nightly bedtime series, and we hope that you had a lot of fun reading with us.
But before we go, it's really important that you listen to this. Do you want to be little heroes? Here's what you can do. Wash your hands with soap and make sure and sing the happy birthday song twice so that you will know that you have washed it long enough. Keep your hands out of your mouth and remind mommy, daddy, and grandparents to wear a mask if they are going out.
We can do this. Yes, we can. Why? Because we are all in this together. So see you tomorrow, kiddies, for a brand new story and a brand new adventure with two new readers. Have a good night, everyone, and stay safe. Thank you, Jovanna.
No problem.